The document didn't arrive in an envelope marked confidential. It didn't come with a frantic note or a demand for money. Instead, it materialized as a single, high-resolution digital ghost, encrypted and dropped onto a secure server in Westminster late last Friday night. When the elite few with a clearance key finally forced it open, the silence that followed wasn't just shock. It was the chilling sound of a dynasty holding its breath before a collapse. This is the moment a high-level palace insider, after years of sitting on the most explosive secret in modern royal history, finally broke ranks. They didn't leak the sanitized version the public saw, nor the curated document released months later, but the raw, original medical intake form, the document written in the heat of the delivery room before the PR machines could spin their web. This insider, a guardian of the royal archives, made a calculated decision. The survival of the monarchy was worth more than the protection of a prince. As the decryption finished and the ink of the original attending physician flickered onto the screen, the room went cold. They realized they weren't looking at a birth record, but a constitutional death warrant. And there, in the box marked Mother, the name isn't Meghan Markle. It is a redacted identity that turns the British line of succession into a fraudulent legal fiction. The truth was out, and what that name reveals is a geographic impossibility that leaves Harry with no path for retreat. The digital file didn't just contradict the official narrative, it obliterated it. As investigators zoomed into the header of the leaked medical form, the first tremor of shock hit. The letterhead didn't belong to the Portland Hospital in London. It bore the seal of the Santa Barbara Fertility Center, complete with a California zip code. The date of birth wasn't May 6th, it was April 18, 2019. This wasn't a clerical error, it was a geographic impossibility. While the world was being told that Meghan was in labor in Windsor, the child was allegedly already 3 weeks old, born on another continent under the golden sun of the Pacific coast. The realization sparked a wave of nauseating disbelief. If the child was born in California 18 days early, then the royal birth, the public celebrated, was nothing more than a meticulously staged piece of theater. But the physical location was only the beginning of the nightmare. The skeptics in the room held their breath as they scrolled down to the section marked Maternal Information. In the box where the world expected to see the name of the Duchess of Sussex, there was a clinical, cold designation, Surrogate Carrier A, followed by a partially redacted surname. The room fell into a hollow silence. The document, signed by attending physicians at the moment of delivery, explicitly identified Meghan Markle not as the biological mother, but as the intended parent. The born of the body requirement, the very foundation of the 1701 Act of Settlement, was being dismantled in real time by a single sheet of paper. Then came the final, lethal blow, the detail that turns a scandal into a total constitutional wipeout. Under the genetic source field, the form listed donor oocyte. This meant there was zero biological connection between the child and the woman the world knows as his mother. Archie wasn't just born via a surrogate, he was conceived using a third-party egg, rendering him a genetic stranger to the royal bloodline through the maternal side. The fraud wasn't just about a hidden birth, it was about a hidden identity, a child smuggled into the line of succession who, by the letter of British law, possesses no right to a title, let alone a place in the queue for the throne. The implications are so massive they defy comprehension. Harry is now facing a reality where his son is a private U.S. citizen with no legal claim to the crown, and the laundering period used to transport the infant across the Atlantic is about to be exposed by a trail of money that leads directly back to the British taxpayer. But as the investigators dug deeper into the how, they discovered something even more sinister. The millions of pounds used to fund this deception were private. They were stolen from a renovation project the public thought was for a cottage. As the constitutional wreckage of the California birth settled, a new, more venal layer of the deception began to surface, one that transforms a family lie into a criminal conspiracy. Investigators staring at the leaked files were hit with a wave of pure, unadulterated indignation as they traced the money trail. High-stakes surrogacy in California isn't just a medical procedure. It is a million-dollar operation involving elite legal fixers, agency fees, and ironclad NDAs. The question that turned the air sour in Westminster was as simple as it was damning. Where did a stripped-back royal couple find the liquid cash for such a shadow operation? The answer, buried in forensic accounting logs, is a masterclass in audacity that borders on total contempt for the British public. The leaked records point to a Delaware-registered shell company with a name that feels like a cruel inside joke, Archie LLC. But the funding for this entity didn't come from personal savings or private inheritance. Instead, the spreadsheets show a series of massive wire transfers siphoned directly from accounts officially earmarked for the Frogmore Cottage renovations. While the British taxpayer was being told that millions were being spent on essential structural repairs, nursery fittings, and security upgrades for a historic royal residence, the reality was far more sinister. Your money, public money designated for the Crown's heritage, was allegedly being laundered through Archie to pay for a secret California surrogacy contract. The sheer level of entitlement required to treat the sovereign grant like a personal slush fund for a constitutional fraud is breathtaking. It is no longer just about a hidden birth, it is about embezzlement against the Crown. Harry didn't just deceive his family, he allegedly signed off on the diversion of public funds to manufacture a royal heir in a foreign lab. The insider's leak includes authorized signatures and timestamp transfers that align perfectly with Candidate 6's medical appointments. It is a portrait of a prince who thought he was too big to be audited, a man who weaponized his victimhood while his hands were deep in the public till. But as the fury of Parliament boils over this financial betrayal, a more ancient and absolute power is stirring within the palace walls. The king's legal war room isn't just looking at the money, they are preparing a constitutional guillotine that will ensure Harry's children never touch a title again. The financial fraud was the crime, but the Letters Patent Amendment is about to be the permanent legal execution of the Sussexes' royal status. The financial betrayal was the spark, but the constitutional explosion that followed is absolute. In the hallowed halls of British law, there is no room for modern sentiment or celebrity spin. There is only the cold, unyielding iron of the 1701 Act of Settlement. For centuries, the mandate has been unequivocal. An heir must be born of the body, a phrase that isn't merely traditional, but a strict legal prerequisite for the Crown's survival. By circumventing this through a surrogate and a donor egg, the Sussexes didn't just break a rule, they triggered a systemic immune response from the monarchy itself. A child born of a contract, rather than the somatic biological union of a royal couple, is a legal ghost in the eyes of the succession. He cannot be a prince. He cannot inherit. He is, by the very letter of the law, a private citizen whose position in the line of succession was a fraudulent entry from the start. But King Charles III hasn't waited for a slow-moving parliamentary inquiry to restore order. In a move described as a constitutional guillotine, the king has reportedly exercised the ultimate sovereign prerogative, a formal amendment to the letters patent. This is the monarchy's highest legal instrument, and the new language is a masterclass in clinical devastation. It clarifies, with retroactive finality, that all royal styles and dignities are reserved exclusively for issue born of the biological union between a title holder and their spouse. There is no mention of Harry by name, no public shaming of children, just a silent, bureaucratic erasure. With a single stroke of the sovereign's pen, the titles of Archie and Lilibet didn't just get stripped, they ceased to legally exist, evaporating as if they were never written into the record. The gravity of this maneuver cannot be overstated. By redefining the biological requirements for royalty, the king has neutralized the Sussexes' only remaining leverage without ever needing to engage in a media brawl. The prince and princess branding that Harry and Meghan built their California empire upon has been rendered a hollow fiction. Harry is reportedly reeling, realizing that the institution didn't just fight back, it fundamentally rewrote reality to exclude him. But as the Sussexes scramble to mount a defense against this legal wipeout, they are discovering that their greatest threat isn't a document or a law. It's a person. A living witness has just landed in London, and she is ready to break the final seal of silence. The donor has arrived on British soil, and she isn't here to negotiate, she's here to testify. The constitutional guillotine has fallen, and in its wake lies the wreckage of a family and a global brand, now dissolving in a state of absolute, tragic disintegration. Prince Harry, once the defiant rebel of Montecito, is now a shadow of his former self, reportedly isolated at a remote royal estate in Scotland, stripped of his California bravado. Sources describe a man in a state of total psychological collapse, frantically attempting to distance himself from his wife's logistics. In a desperate bid to avoid criminal prosecution for the misuse of public funds, Harry is allegedly cooperating with the king's legal team, effectively trading his marriage for a sliver of royal protection. The image of the invincible couple has vanished, replaced by the chilling sight of a prince in protective custody, realizing too late that he was merely a pawn in a game he never truly understood. The monarchy has woken up from a fever dream, and as the file on the Sussex deception is placed in a lead-lined box in the Windsor vaults, sealed for 100 years, the message to the world is final. The Sussex era is over. And as the king turns the page on a clean succession, the only thing remaining is the deafening silence of a prince who traded his birthright for a story that no one is buying anymore. The throne has spoken, and the era of the Sussexes has been rewritten. But what do you think? Is this the ultimate justice or the ultimate betrayal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay ahead of every royal revelation, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Celeb Secrets Today. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next explosive update.